the entire first half of 2024, the Bay Area housing market has been relatively stable and healthy. But with the recent collapse of the stock market and all of the economic uncertainty that we're currently facing, plus the current political climate, the question remains, how will the Bay Area housing market shape up for the rest of 2024? Coming up on this Silicon Valley Snapshot. Welcome back, friends, to the Silicon Valley Snapshot. It has been a while, but I am so excited to go in depth into what is happening right now with the Bay Area housing market and my predictions for what's going to happen over the next 6 months as we enter some fairly interesting times. But before we get into the numbers, before we get into the data, if you are a home buyer in today's marketplace and you're looking for a comprehensive data set to help you in your home buying decision making, you can text the word data plus the area or the zip code or the neighborhood that you're looking in to the number down below, and we will get that information sent straight to your inbox. And if you're a home seller and you're trying to decide if now is the right time to sell or if you should wait a little bit, and if you do decide to sell, what should you be pricing your property for? All of that information will be delivered to you when you text the word data plus your property address to the number down below. Now, it's no secret, the housing market has been a little bit of a roller coaster ride over the last couple of years, but really for the entire first 6-7 months here in 2024, we've experienced fairly stable conditions. And let's dive into the data first, go into the numbers, and then we'll give some predictions as to what's going to happen for the rest of 2024 and beyond. Starting with Santa Clara County. Now, Santa Clara County, we've seen, I should say, pendings outpacing supply now for 6 months. The entire spring market, we saw pendings outpace supply. You see, in March, we had 1,099 homes pending and only 754 homes active. That is a recipe for a white hot market, and that is exactly what we got here in Santa Clara County. Now, obviously, there's exceptions to the rule. There's always going to be pockets of exceptions, but for the most part, we saw very, very seller-friendly market conditions for the entirety of the spring. Then we see in June what we've seen in previous summers, and this is something that I've warned my sellers and my clients forever about, which is a lot of people think that summer is the best time to sell. It's actually not. The reason being, everyone else gets the same bright idea that you do. Everyone wants to sell during the summer, but guess what? All the buyers go on vacation. They have weddings, they have graduation season, then they have 4th of July, then they're going to go on vacation, then they're going to go to Disneyland, and then they're going to come back and it's back to school. So for the entire 3 months, really, of June, July, August, we see a slowdown in the market, and it's pretty much like clockwork. And here it is reflected again in the data where we see inventory outpacing pendings for the first time since November of last year. So we've had incredibly favorable selling conditions, basically from December until June of this year. And now we're starting to see a little bit of a quote unquote slowdown. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a slowdown. The absorption rate is still very, very high here in Santa Clara County. But that being said, obviously we see 1,278 homes active on the market and 1,012 homes pending. Here in July, now looking at the last month's worth of data, we have basically the same amount of pending. So we have 976 pending. So right now we're seeing fairly same amount of demand in the marketplace. Now, obviously the demand falling from May to June is not surprising. This happens very frequently. Look at last May to June of last year. We had 1,091 homes pending, and then we had 886 homes pending in 2023 from May to June. Basically the same percentage drop off, maybe a little bit less of a drop off this year than last year, but the same concept, which is we see a drop off in demand and usually an increase in supply. Last year, we didn't see an increase in supply, but this year we are seeing an increase in supply. We'll talk about that, why that could be in a second. But look at what's happening right now. We see pendings falling below inventory levels here in Santa Clara County for the first time in quite some time. Now, heading on up to San Mateo County, we have 598 homes active on the market right now and 364 homes pending. Now, if we look from June to July, pretty much the same story. We have almost the same amount of homes active on the market, almost the same amount of homes that are pending. Now, if we look at San Mateo County year over year, it is fairly obvious, fairly evident that we are seeing a bit of a softening in the market right now as compared to last year. Like, there are more active homes on the market in San Mateo County, roughly the same amount of homes pending. And so while we have roughly the same amount of demand, we do have about 100 more homes active on the market, which is about a 20% increase in inventory. Now, this is a good sign for buyers. This definitely means that there are more homes to choose from. This also means that there's going to be just a little bit less competition on any given home in San Mateo County. Now, heading over to the East Bay, we are seeing a massive surge in inventory levels over the last couple of months. Here in July, 1,448 homes active on the market, 803 homes pending. Now, if we look at July of last year versus July of this year, there's a little bit more demand. We're seeing 803 homes pending versus 721 homes. So that is about a 10% increase in demand. But when we look at inventory levels, they've gone up almost 50% year over year. And so we're starting to see signs of a more buyer-friendly market here in the East Bay. And Contra Costa County isn't the only one. Looking at Alameda County, pretty much the same story. We have 1,281 homes active on the market, 779 homes pending. We look at July of last year, same story, right? We have about a 10-15% increase in demand. But when we look at supply, it has gone up pretty much 50%, almost identical to Contra Costa County. Now, obviously, when supply goes up that much, it's logical that we're going to see some of that additional inventory absorbed by the market. There is a housing shortage here in the Bay Area, so it's no surprise. It's no secret. It shouldn't be a surprise, I should say, that when inventory increases that dramatically, that we see a slight uptick in pending sales. But that being said, it is still a much more buyer-friendly market than it has been in quite some time here in the East Bay. While looking at this data, it might be difficult for you to interpret exactly what's going on. Why is all of this inventory coming on all of a sudden? Well, we can start with the fact that inventory levels have been very low for a very long period of time. And just like anything, right? Like when inventory levels are suppressed for so long, we start seeing, inventory oozing out because it just can't be contained anymore. People want to move. They want to move on with their lives. And one of the reasons that we've had inventory levels as low as we have for the last couple of years is due to the fact that interest rates have been so high, or higher than we have been accustomed to since basically the start of the last cycle, which was right after the Great Recession, 2008, 2009. We came out of that, interest rates came down significantly, and here we are today with rates at almost double at where they were, say, 36 months ago. When rates are high, typically there's less inventory because sellers are also buyers, right? People aren't going to sell their home to go leave under a bridge, right? They want to go buy something else. And so for so long, we've had inventory being held off the market because people just didn't want to let go of their incredibly low interest rates only to go buy a house at double the rate and half the house. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for some of these sellers to sell. That being said, we are starting to see signs of sellers just being done with waiting. And that is expressed in the data here. And I honestly believe that we will see more and more inventory come on the market because we are well below the historical norm for inventory levels here in the Bay Area. So my first prediction for the rest of 2024 is that I expect inventory levels to stay roughly where they're at, or maybe increase a little bit more between now and the end of the year, keeping in mind the cyclical nature and the seasonality of the real estate market here in the Bay Area. We know that historically in the fall, we start to see an increase in inventory levels, and then we see a decrease starting in like the November, December timeframe. And I would expect the same thing to happen. And we see an ebb and a flow of the inventory over the next couple of months. But I do expect to see inventory levels stay where they're at right now. This is not some abnormality. I really do believe that buyers are going to have a lot more inventory to choose from than they have in a long time. Now, let's talk about the economic uncertainty. There's obviously the stock market crash that just happened a couple of days ago. We also have the political climate that we're in right now. Lots of geopolitical issues, lots of home political issues here in the United States as well. And the cherry on top is the perpetual uncertainty as to what is happening or what is going to happen with interest rates. And so here in the Bay Area, what we've observed over the last couple of months, and really like the last 6-12 months or so, is we're starting to see a lot of buyers retract. We're seeing a lot of home buyers decide to put their home search on pause. I've had many conversations with home buyers over the last couple of weeks who, due to all of the things that are going on right now, have just decided to take a break from their home search. And so I would expect to not only see an increase in supply over the next 6 months, but I would also expect to see a year-over-year dip in demand here in the Bay Area housing market. It would not surprise me to see pending activity fall. Now, this could be offset by the introduction of new inventory. Obviously, with new inventory, we've got a couple things. Some of that additional inventory is going to be absorbed. More options. Buyers are going to say, hey, this looks like a great deal. Obviously, with more inventory too, we might see a little bit of a softening in prices. So buyers might get tempted to re-enter the market if prices soften ever so slightly. And then we've also got the reintroduction of some of these sellers now as buyers into the marketplace as well. So some of these things might help support the numbers in a way where we might not see an evident dip in pending activity. In fact, we might see kind of like what we saw earlier just now on the slides, where we saw a slight uptick in pending activity, but a much larger uptick in active inventory here in the Bay. But it would not surprise me to see year-over-year dips in pending activity over the next 6 months. Here's one thing I know for sure. Humans hate uncertainty. And right now we are living in very uncertain times. And for that reason, a lot of individuals, a lot of home buyers will choose to not participate in this current environment. The majority of buyers right now are waiting for some semblance of certainty. Now, whether that be in the form of interest rate improvement, right? So, hey, the Fed has brought down the rates. That is going to bring some added level of security, some added level of certainty to the marketplace. And it would certainly create an increase in demand here in the Bay Area, or some sort of political certainty, right? So whatever side you're on, it doesn't matter. But right now, during election cycles, it's very common for consumer sentiment to be shaky in the months leading up to the election. And so I would assume that beyond November 5th, we're going to have, whichever way it goes, we're going to have maybe some semblance of certainty here in the Bay Area. And some buyers decide to re-enter the market because we all know 50-50, right? Maybe in California it's a little bit different, but 50% of the buyers, right, more or less, are going to be ecstatic with the outcome, and they will feel, okay, now I think I can re-enter the market. And so leading into 2025, especially if both things happen, if we see a reduction in rates, which is very possible given everything that just happened over the last couple of days, reports that the Fed is going to be decreasing rates have come out, that it is very likely, there's a very likely possibility that will happen. But we all know that has been speculated. Now, there's been speculation that rates are going to be coming down now for like the last year and a half. So I wouldn't hold my breath. But if either one of those two things happen, and or both of those things, well, November 5th will definitely happen. So regardless of what happens on November 5th, especially if we see rates come down, I would expect to see the beginning of 2025 an uptick in pending activity and a return of the buyers to the marketplace. So I communicate all of this to you for one reason and one reason only. If you were a buyer, right, because the majority of buyers right now have tapped out, but if you were a buyer in the marketplace and you're thinking like, man, I'm going to wait until there's some semblance of certainty. Well, let me explain a couple of things to you. Number one, once you decide that it's safe to re-enter the market, the majority of the buyers out there have also decided that it's safe to re-enter the market. And so what you're doing, you are fighting an uphill battle. You are deciding to participate only when competition is at its highest. That could end up backfiring for you. The buyers who choose to buy right now, I honestly believe are going to be in a great position at the beginning of 2025 for a couple of reasons. Number one, right now there's a lot of inventory on the market. You're going to have more homes to choose from, less competition, and the prices are going to be influenced by the current rates. And so once rates come down, we are going to see prices go up. And one of the buyers that I spoke to this last week brought up a good point that I wanted to share with you right now, which is like, well, yeah, rates might come down and prices might go up, but that's also going to influence a lot of sellers to sell. And so we're going to see more inventory come on the market. That is a fair point. We're already starting to see more inventory come on the market. You can imagine what an additional inventory that is influenced by a decrease in rates would look like. It would definitely be more buyer-friendly environment. That being said, the reactionary behavior of buyers versus sellers is drastically different. Meaning, if rates drop today, a buyer could decide tonight and get on Zillow and start looking at homes again tomorrow. Sellers, if rates drop, hey, honey, rates are coming down. Maybe we should think about buying again. All right, well, let's start looking at houses. Let's make sure that there's stuff out there that we want to see. Let's take a few months there. Okay, well, we're seeing stuff that we like. We're doing the math. It makes sense. Okay, let's talk to an agent about listing the home. Right. And so this process of selling and then buying takes 3 to 6 months minimum. And so what you're looking at is lead versus lag, right? And so the lagging metric is going to be inventory coming on the market. The leading metric is going to be an increased pending activity. And so when we just look at the overall market, I do believe that before we see additional inventory introduced as a result of decreased rates, we are going to see a surge in pricing because that additional inventory will not appear for 3 to 6 months. Now, the additional inventory will eventually come on and it will stabilize the market. But when rates come down, I can assure you that prices will go up. In times of uncertainty, in times where everyone is panicking and going left, the winners go right. And it's been proven time and time again. You look at the 08-09 recession, look at all of the people who were told they were crazy for buying in that environment, and then they came out smelling like a rose. So too will buyers who were previously in the market, have intent on buying, but are currently putting their home search on pause for XYZ reason. If you are watching this video right now and I just described your situation, I would carefully consider whether or not you actually want to wait. There's a tremendous amount of upside for the few buyers who decide to take action over the next 6 months and dive into this market before every other buyer gives themselves permission to re-enter the market once they feel a little bit safer. Now, if you are a home seller, I don't know that now is the greatest time to sell. If I'm being honest with you, I would say that there's probably going to be a little bit better market conditions waiting around the corner here in the new year. Of course, a lot of things, there's so much up in the air right now. It's really hard to call what's going to happen, but I would imagine that if you are prepared to sell and prepared to put your home on the market after the first big rate cut, whenever that happens, if it happens, obviously, but I think that we can all assume that it will happen at some point. And so if and when that happens, if you're prepared to put your home on the market within the first month or two of the first big rate cut, you're going to see a lot of additional demand coming from out of nowhere, right? These buyers will come back in droves once the rates come down. And if you are a seller who has positioned themselves to take advantage of that, then you will be in a very, very good spot. Hey, and by the way, if you are a buyer or a seller in the Bay Area right now, or you're thinking about buying, you're thinking about selling, and you're looking for advice specific to your unique situation, you can text the word consultation to the number down below. That's consultation to the number down below. I will call you free of charge, and I will chat with you about your situation to see, whether it makes sense for you to buy or sell. It doesn't make sense for everyone to buy right now, nor does it make sense for everyone to not sell. There are situations where, it might make sense for you to sell, or it might make sense for you to wait on the sidelines if you're a buyer. So go ahead and text the word consultation to the number down below. We can chat a little bit more about your situation, free of charge, and put you on your own path to success here in the Bay Area housing market. Now, if you made it this far in the video and you are not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to get notified every single week when we post a new one of these. That's right, the weekly snapshots are back, and I am super pumped to be delivering these to you every single week. So click that notification bell to get notified every single time I post a new Silicon Valley snapshot. And that's it, everyone. This is Danny Gould. I'm selling Silicon Valley, and I will catch all of you in the next snapshot.